Hey friends, this is former All-Pro wide receiver of the New York Jets, Wesley Walker. You are watching Jets Guru. My favorite producer, JR, is kicking off a new intro.
This is Daniel Smith from Jets Guru. Welcome to the show. All gas, no brakes. Let's go, Jets. Woo!
Can't wait.
You play to win the game. Hello?
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
What is going on, everybody in Jets Guru Nation? Welcome back to Jets Guru off-season episode. We do these once every 2 weeks now until right around preseason starts, and then we'll be every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure if we're streaming on our old Jets Guru page yet or not, but if we are, welcome back. We are trying to obtain our page again. We're working on it so we don't lose so many people that we work so hard to obtain. And then we're also going to be posting on our our new Facebook page, Jets Guru Live. So Jets Guru and Jets Guru Live, we'll let you know what the final verdict is if we're able to get control of it. Maybe the hackers will let us at least post on there so we can let people know we're going live. And also welcome YouTube as we slowly build that up. I think we're over 200 fans on there, and we have some new people jumping in, so thank you very much. And we have some old faces as well. Ricky, how you doing, buddy? So, listen, it's the off season. There's not a lot to talk about. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of BS that goes around, and we're just here to bring some normal calm here. Because whether I have one viewer or whether I have 3,500 viewers, it doesn't matter to me. I'm always going to call it how I see it in fairness, and I'm never going to try to gas anything up to make it seem like it's not. I'm just calling it how I see it. Whether people like it or not, that's up to them. Please don't mistake what I say. What I say is what I mean, and what I post on my pages as I write articles on the Jets Guru Live Facebook page. Those will be kicking out much more frequent as the season goes on and we actually have stuff to talk about. So I posted, a little bit ago, I've just been looking around at the Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, it's big that Aaron Rodgers is here, but we have to have a little bit of clarity, right? Because some of the chatter that I saw right after Aaron Rodgers stepped on a rock or was stretching his Achilles muscle or his foot was bothering him or he had something in his shoe, whatever it might have been that really was the whole big issue, we're going to have to get comfortable with that as Jet fans. And I say that for a couple of reasons, because he went through a major injury at a late stage in his life. If you don't think that it might take him a little bit more to warm up than it used to, or than it would for a 23-year-old quarterback coming back from his injury, we're kidding ourselves here. He came back in record time from an injury that takes much longer, okay? He's going to have bumps in the road where he's going to be sore more than he would in previous play because of the injury as he works and strengthens the muscle around the Achilles and what have you. These things are really important to understand. when we look at news that's coming out of camp and OTAs, and to provide clarity so we don't sound like fools when we're talking about the New York Jets. And obviously it wasn't an issue because he's still been in OTA since that, and he's doing great, absolutely great in OTAs right now. His recovery is looking good, and I have no issues with Aaron Rodgers right now and his recovery. He looks like he's on track to be able to play. I think the Jets are going to be very cautious with him. I think the Jets are going to be very smart when it comes down to it, because the Jets have a history of losing quarterbacks in preseason games, in games that don't matter, in games where they shouldn't be playing at that particular time. So the way I look at it is the Jets are going to be smart about it, and the Jets, I know, are being smart about it because they went out and actually got a competent backup quarterback just in case something happens where with the defense, because you looked at the season last year and you told yourself, if we could just get some games where we have a competent offense, we would win some of those games. And it doesn't mean we're taking ourselves to the AFC Championship game on, Jacoby Brissett or Tyrod Taylor or any of the other backups that we potentially could have had last year, in the offseason that we didn't. But I think the Jets had a real good shot at making the playoffs the last 2 years if we just had some competent play down the stretch. Their stats are there. If the Jets would have scored over 17 points a game, which is way below league average, the Jets would have won 10, 11 games and would have been in the playoffs. And so this is the third year where it all comes together, not just for the Jets, but for Aaron Rodgers as well. Because as you remember, Aaron Rodgers, as we sit here, he's got a lot on his plate as far as his legacy is concerned. And as JR gets back into flow, he's in off-season flow right now. So, but as you look at it, he has a lot on his legacy because he's only got the one Super Bowl. And as time goes on, there's going to be other young quarterbacks that fill the roles that the old quarterbacks that Aaron Rodgers played with are now retired and gone. Brady is one of those people that's gone. There is no more Peyton Mannings. There is no Roethlisbergers. There's none of these guys. It's more Mahomes, and you see the Strouds and all these types of guys. And Burrows, these types of people, they will be winning these big games, further distancing you from your legacy. And so if Aaron Rodgers was able to win a Super Bowl with the New York Jets, this is a game changer, not only for the organization and for us Jet fans, obviously, but it's also a huge, huge, huge change for this Aaron Rodgers discussion. He now has 2 Super Bowls. This now puts him in a different class. He also won a Super Bowl with a major big city organization with the New York Jets that hasn't won since Joe Namath, and actually has a saying in different things for the fact that the Jets don't win, that they're cursed, that he sold his soul to the devil. This is what they say. And so for me, if he wins a Super Bowl, it elevates him. It puts him up there with those Peyton Mannings and different things like that people like to put ahead of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers' ego, Aaron Rodgers' personality tends to throw people off, where I think people like Peyton Manning, for him, people like him. They think he's silly, he's funny, you know what I mean? He's smart. And I think if you kind of strip it down and don't look at the politics, you could get the same things out of Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is witty. I think Aaron Rodgers is very intelligent when he talks about the football game. I think Aaron Rodgers is fun enough and brass enough to be on some of these shows like McAfee and hold his own and tell you things that you wouldn't hear and say things that you wouldn't hear from a quarterback, because everyone tries to be PC all the time. Now, I'm not speaking for things that he's done. I'm not him. I'm just talking about, I think this could change how he's looked at across the football world. And then that, it's kind of like people forget things when you're a winner, right? Like everyone loves Lawrence Taylor, but you look at what he's done in his personal life and you're like, wow, right? And it's so, I think when you win, when you're at the top of your game, when you could sustain your play all the way to the end, It changes how people look at you. No one wants to remember Aaron Rodgers as the guy that tore his ACL and then came back for an 8-8, a 9-win Jet team, and then that was it. Like, we're not looking at a Brett Favre type of return here. We're looking at a guy that's going to change our franchise. And there's a couple points within Jets history, within my lifetime, that changed the organization. And one of the things that changed the organization for the New York Jets was, for me, when Bill Parcells came to the Jets. Because up until that point, the New York Jets were nothing. And growing up in New York, it was very, very, very hard to watch football. And I was a Mets fan, and it just, it just all comes together, when you do this, when you follow these bad New York teams. But when Bill Parcells came, it gave the New York Jets instant credibility. And you know what? Shortly after that, the New York Jets started winning. And then it didn't feel so bad to be a Jets fan anymore. For the first time in my life, the New York Jets were winning football games. The New York Jets weren't a Glenn Foley, Bubby Brister joke anymore. They were actually a football team that could possibly win a Super Bowl. And they were close, man. They were so close. And then when the Jets brought in, for me, Rex Ryan, for the Jets to have the season that they did prior to Rex Ryan getting there, starting off so hot with Brett Favre, and then ultimately just the wheels falling off because Brett had an arm injury and didn't want to disclose it, didn't want to take himself out. The backup wasn't prepared. I believe it was Kellen Clemens at the time, and the Jets fell off, and the Jets needed to make a change. And I don't believe it was all Mangini's fault at that time, but it was one of those defining changes where you're like, we have a good football team. We just needed something a little extra. And when they brought Rex Ryan, it changed everything. And the Jets all of a sudden started playing in big-time games towards the end of the season. And thank you for guys tuning in on our old Jets Guru page. We still have access to it, believe it or not. I can't really post anything other than these videos, but we'll do that for a while and see if we can get it back and post it on our new page, Jets Guru Live, as well as YouTube Live that we're on right now, Jets Guru on YouTube. And so when Rex Ryan came, we haven't been back to the playoffs since his time. The closest thing we got was that up and down season with Fitzpatrick where we got to get his name out of the record book. Someone's got to step up, hopefully Aaron Rodgers, and erase every type of stat that Ryan Fitzpatrick put in because he was selfish, as you remember, coming in late, trying to squeeze pennies out of the Jets when he finally got accepted to an organization. But I get it, right? Businessman, lots of kids, all that, what have you. So the Jets have been nothing since Rex Ryan has been here. A wish, a hope, a dream away, while setting an American franchise record for winless playoff opportunities. 13 seasons now for the New York Jets. Worse than the Sacramento Kings. Worse than the Cleveland Browns. Worse than the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are no longer the Detroit Lions. And it's sad because, like I was saying before, I believe the Jets had a real opportunity the last 2 years with their start to be able to make the playoffs, and they just fell apart because they did not have the quarterback. And thank you, proud New York Jet fan. Please check out Nick Shine's podcast. And yes, absolutely, we will chat real soon, and we will be on each other's show. But, so for me, this is a defining moment for Aaron Rodgers. This is a defining moment for the New York Jets. And it could be a great thing, man, because if Aaron Rodgers can play well, most likely he's coming back next year if the Jets make the playoffs and win a playoff game to give it another run at minimum. And maybe he's really healthy and maybe he's in really good shape. And maybe he wants to erase the memory of what Brady was at his late stages and play for a few more years. And maybe he's pretty dang good. And maybe he gives you an opportunity to draft a young quarterback and actually work with him over a couple of years and allow him to take over like it always used to be. Not this rush, get the quarterback out there. He's not ready. We don't care. We'll draft another one in 2-3 years. At some point, it has to stop. This could be the guy that stops that. This could be the guy that allows you to have a Jordan Travis sit on the bench for 2-3 years, recover, work in the playbook, and then hand it off the right way, like Pennington received his, the right way. Time to learn, time to process, time to be in the meetings, time to be in the practice, time for the players to get to understand you, to know who you are, to know how you lead, to know how you perform, not to just rush a young kid from BYU or USC or whatever these quarterbacks are coming from. So for me, man, and thank you, Whiskey Demon, we appreciate your support. So for me, man, I this could be it. And I'm hoping it's got to be it. Because if it's not it, people are getting fired and we're starting over. And I don't want to do this because there is so much good characteristic to this team. I also don't want to see the young players like Wilson and Gardner start to have that mentality like this Jets team's never going to win and they're looking to get their way out or get paid. And it's like, I don't want the Jets to become that. And to have them not become that means they need to start winning pretty soon. Because if they could start winning pretty soon and they could start building a culture, they could start building a legacy there, then it's like, hey, man, I want to go play with the New York Jets. I want to stay here, man. I won my first Super Bowl here, right? As long as I'm paid fair market value. And why wouldn't you? You're the New York Jets. You come here. We draft you. We sign you. We win chips. We get to the playoffs. We give ourselves opportunities. This is the type of team that you want to be. You can't do that when you're cycling GMs out every couple years, coaches, players. You got to build something, and this could be it. I think it's already been that. But when you take your starting quarterback away from you or you don't have one, it's hard to do that. Even when you have a great defense, which the Jets, I think, could be even better than what we saw the last 2 years this year. 3 years in the same system. You've got backups for backups on this team on the defensive side of the ball. You've got a good rotation on the defensive line. This is the time, right? The Jets defense could finally attack, right? The Jets have not been able to attack on defense. They've been bend, don't break, not a lot of turnovers. The way you get a lot of turnovers is by putting pressure. But how can you really put pressure? How can you really blitz properly on this team when you don't have a quarterback that can push you down the field, when you don't cross the 50 more than once or twice a game? You can't take chances because if you give up 21, 17, there's some games where the Jets defense gave up 10 and I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to eclipse that. That's awful. So when you're able to score points, and we spoke about this before and what Rodgers can bring to this team, it doesn't always have to be touchdowns, but it can be. He has a great touchdown, TD to touchdown ratio, one of the best in the league all time. If he could get you 2 touchdowns a game, you're telling me Breece is going to slide in there for a few and back up running backs. You're going to have a return, but more than that, you're going to have the Jets team crossing the 50-yard line into the opponents so that you can get this great special teams going. And so you can actually use Zerline. And if you could get 2 to 3 field goals a game with 2 touchdowns with that defense, bro, even if you could get 1 touchdown and trade out, let's say, 3 field goals with 1 touchdown, but the ball is moving and you're giving your defense field to work with where they could give up a 15-yard slant and not be in position for the other team to score because your team can't get out of its own 20. And we have a great punter. Morstead is awesome. So I just really think this is the time, and we shouldn't be so concerned with the recovery. We shouldn't be so concerned when he limps. He's going to limp. He's going to be tight. He's going to grimace at times until he builds those muscles and stretches everything out. Their tendons, their ligaments, they have to be stretched out. They have to be elongated. They have to be strengthened. He's doing that. I'm not really concerned with that. But moving on, let me take a sip of my water in my custom Cheers cup, right, that you get. Now, we're going to talk about OTAs a little bit and just get some news out there. Like I said, there's not a lot to talk about, so you have to lean on guys like Connor Hughes and all these reporters and stuff for information because I don't have access to it, neither do you, right? We're not Jets everything. Like, the Jets guru name, I wish I had more access. I wish they would allow me to watch this team or be paid for this team. The amount of insight that I could bring, the amount of excitement that I think I could bring from a fan standpoint would be awesome. But right now, until I actually get to see the team in practice, until I get to see them in preseason, until I get to see them in games, it's really hard to evaluate what this team is going to be put together. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of returning faces, but they didn't get to play with Aaron. But there's still a lot of news out there. So let's go through it and let's see what we wind up getting. So OTAs end the end of this week, and I believe training camp starts, and then they camp starts, and then they break for the summer until July, where the real deal starts, like mid-July, right around there, right? So basically, what it's been is the talk of the running backs. The Jets have a very big room at running back. One of the guys that they've been talking about in OTAs a lot is Braylon Allen. We drafted him out of Wisconsin. I posted the article on the Jets Guru live page. This is a guy they're very, very interested in. And the reason why is he's a different type of back than what Breece Hall is. Breece Hall is a cut / dynamic back. He could get through the gaps. He could do everything. Braylon is more of a downhill style. He's a guy that I think is going to pay big dividends when you talk about the winner, when you talk about those tough months, those tough quarters. Fourth quarter grinds you out. Goal line grinds you out. This is a guy that's 6'1", 240 pounds. He's a big dude. He's not a speedster, but he's not slow by any imagination. I could see him playing even a fullback role at certain points in time on the goal line. One of his drawbacks is that he's not good catching the ball out of the backfield, but he's been doing it in camp. And they really like him to the point where they think that he could be the number 2 running back. So going from a 5th round pick to a number 2 running back pretty much overnight on a squad is telling you what they believe in this kid. And they still have Davis that they drafted that they like. And they also brought in Tariq Cohen from the Bears. And I love Tariq Cohen. I loved him when he was on the Bears, man. And I wanted him a couple years back. He had an injury. To me, he's got to be used right. And we'll see, because there's been a lot of talk about, obviously, the Jets offensive coordinator and that they were trying to get rid of him actually at the end of the year, and that Aaron Rodgers may have saved his job basically because this guy can't call plays without Aaron Rodgers orchestrating the offense. I don't know what's real and really what's not. I know he changes a lot at the line. I know that a lot of it's designed and tailored to Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, that's the quarterback that he's had the most success, and I'm okay with that. So I'm not really concerned with that type of stuff. But here we are talking about a 5th round running back because we have to, because this is OTA news. So the running back room looks good. The connection from Aaron Rodgers to Mr. Wilson has been right on stride again. Like they never missed a beat. Pretty much the odd man out right now is Izzy. He's not getting a lot of love. Tariq Cohen's taking reps, and he should, because in the return game, he could be dangerous in punt and kick returns. And, he's got that dynamic. And I just don't know if we have the coordinator to pull what might still be left of Tariq Cohen out of him. I don't know if it's possible to do that. But this guy in the screen game, because of his size, because of his speed, I think you could really have a nice dynamic with these backs. And you could really save Breece Hall. Not to take away carries from him like we saw last year in moments where we needed him out on the field. I'm talking about the fourth quarter grind when you're up 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he needs a breather. These are the types of things that I'm talking about. Again, we'll see how he's used, how he's deployed. But if Aaron Rodgers is there, I believe in him. I believe in his offensive ability and what he can bring to the table. So I'm not really concerned with the offense when it comes to that. Some other news that we got, Hassan Reddick didn't show up. I'm not really too concerned. I knew this was going to happen. You hope that new team, you show up, but he wants a deal. He wanted a deal with the Eagles. They didn't want to give it to him. He wants a deal. If I were him, I wouldn't want to ruin the mojo of coming to a new team. Come in, you know what I mean? And then disappear if you want to, but at least come in. we'll see if it's an issue moving forward because the Jets, I don't think, are going to give him a contract. And I would like to see him on the field before the Jets throw big money at him, too. If this was the Eagles, they've had him in the facility. He's played for them. Their decision-making was a little different than how I'm thinking right now. Like, you just got here, bro. Like, you really, Aaron Rodgers out here rebuilding his ACL, putting everything on the line, bro. This is how you want to start it? So there's a bunch of players not there. So I wouldn't really look into it too much. This is where the big market papers and podcasts really start putting headlines out there to draw viewers in. We don't do that here. Again, we just tell it how it is. There's a lot of guys that aren't there, but for some reason the headlines are Hassan Reddick. There's a lot of guys that aren't practicing and playing. For some reason, there's Reddick that's on the board. So I think a lot of this stuff is targeted for headline use and to ask questions that bring out more headlines. And that's all right. That's your job. That's what you got to do. That's fine. That's not my job. I don't get paid to do this. I'm just going to call it how I see it. So that's some of the news that we see in OTAs. We could go down some of the highlights as well. Xavier Gibson, 50-yard pass. I believe it was either yesterday or today in drills. So he's looking good. Again, Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen, 1-2 punch at running back. That's good to hear. Something that Connor Hughes had brought up that I think that we need to talk about that's really important is offensive line coach Keith Carter. There's a lot of talk about Carter and his demeanor and personality, and it's kind of what got him in trouble in Tennessee and why him and Tyler Luan didn't get along. But a lot of players didn't like his coaching style. And we didn't really hear about this too much last season because everything was focused around the quarterback, the injury, the coming back from the injury, the losses, the playoff push potentially, and then ultimately the downfall. And, you didn't really hear much about it. But apparently Carter's working on more of his demeanor and how he says things, how he approaches players, how he does his practices and different things. The Jets had a really young offensive line. This year, it's more of a veteran type of offensive line. I don't think that hard style, that tough guy type of thing is going to work with guys like Morgan Moses and Smith and Simpson and what have you. But that's something to keep an eye on to see if any headlines come out of that. And that's not even drama. That's something that's been reported legit. But yeah, Keith Carter. And that's something that what we talked about that on Jets Guru, I believe, in the beginning and how that could potentially be an issue before he even got here. Alan Lazard, another odd man out at the wide receiver position. Unfortunately, another big third down drop in practice. He's the odd man out. He knows it. The mojo is gone. He's probably not feeling it. I mean, honestly, the way I picture it, they can't cut him because they owe him too much money. You can have injuries. He could still be valuable. But it's hard to imagine, seriously, it really is, of him touching the field if there's no injury, especially with Corley now being on the roster. Because now you're talking about Corley being like your dynamic type of returner, receiver, slot, whatever you have him do, and you have Mike Williams and you have Wilson, and the rapport between Aaron Rodgers and Conklin is also really good. So it's like, where does Lazard really fit? And Aaron can use anybody. He's done it throughout his whole career, even leading up to his time here with the New York Jets, where it just doesn't really matter. Does he fit into what they're doing? So that's something else to look into. Chuck Clark is back. The safety we got from the Ravens, he's healthy now. That's good to see. I think he's a good player. He'll be paired most likely with Tony Adams. He'll be a starter as well. Tony Adams had a great camp last year, which propelled him and pushed him into the starting role, and he did very well. And so the Jets are very comfortable with Clark and Adams this year, and I am too as well. Hopefully he could stay healthy, but it's good to see him back, to see some value from your trades come back, dividends to help pay you back here. Some more highlights, Jeremy Ruckert, he's making plays out there too. So I think the Jets are really comfortable with their tight end situation. That's why they didn't go after a tight end in the draft using those smoke screens. They really like what they could do. Again, Aaron Rodgers has kind of made tight ends in his career, and had career seasons with him. Ultimately, to move to another, like fantasy-wise, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a great tight end next year. And it's like Aaron Rodgers is on to another guy. It's like, it's all system, it's all play, it's all release, it's all understanding the game, it's all shifts. It's all redirects. It's all audibles. It's all putting your players in positions that you feel comfortable and making plays. And so Chuck Clark is back, so that's great for him. What else do we got on here? What else could we talk about here? That's it, man. I mean, that's really it. Rodgers has been playing well. Wilson has been playing well. Everything looks good so far, guys, except for the things that I've told you. Not too much going on. We'll probably see you guys in another 2 weeks, I would say. So we'll let the whole camp thing go through, the rest of the OTAs. We'll come back that following Wednesday, wrap up camp news and all that before the break in the summer for the players. And then, stuff is really going to die out until we get close to training camp at that point. And so maybe we'll do like a little one-hitter or something like that. We'll jump on, talk about a topic. Maybe we could get some guests on. That would be awesome to bring back some of our old guests, and we could talk to some legends during that time. So we'll have some things diced up for you. So I guess save the old Jets Guru page. Keep it on deck. We're going to try to get it back. We'll share from there. And please join us on Jets Guru Live on Facebook. That's our backup page, just in case we can't get anything going. And always thank you so much to YouTube supporters, because I know a lot of people watch on their phone, and then you got to sit there and actually watch it if you don't have that extra thing that puts it up in the corner while you could scroll your phone and stay on YouTube. So we really appreciate the support. As always, we're not out here trying to steal people from anyone. There's a lot of great Jets pages out there. Please consume them. Please watch them. Please give, watch people's videos. If you're a Jets fan, learn a little something, maybe meet a new friend, get sucked into it, as I say, because I think this is going to be a really big year for us, and it's going to be exciting. And the earlier you get in, the more credit you have when they actually win to be excited, right? Because deep down inside your heart, if you're pessimistic to the whole idea and you're like, yeah, whatever, let's see what happens when they play a couple games and they start off 5-1 and this becomes some kind of magical season. I don't want to hear you jump in halfway, okay? I don't want to hear it because I'm going to call you out on it. You could say, hey, I want to see you do it, because I'm in that boat too. 13 years, no playoffs. I'm 40 years old next year. You got to show me something. I'm with you on that. But don't be so pessimistic that you can't see the talent that's on this team and you can't see the landscape ahead of you if everyone stays healthy. So unique to Michael, Tyler Dunsing, Victor, Whiskey Demon, Simon, all you guys that tuned in today, proud New York Jets fan, Guy Fisher, Ricky, and all those that I don't see on all the pages. Appreciate your support. Thank you very much. JR, thanks for the great digitals. As always, we will get better. We will build our pages up, and we will return to where we need to be. Jets Guru out to the masses, baby. Woo! We out.